Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Mademoiselle Lina, and you can find me online at www.conjureknits.com. Today, we're here to do the Scorpio TarotScope for November 2021, and we are going to be using the Fairies Oracle by Brian Froud. Before we get started, I would like to say thank you for viewing my video. And if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and click on the little bell so that you'll receive notifications of when I go live or upload new videos. I do try to stay pretty busy here on my channel. I do all 12 zodiac signs for the monthly tarot scopes. On Sundays, we have Conjure Crew with myself, Mambo Tanya, and the Black Bonnet Witch. On Mondays, I upload the weekly forecast. Every day, I do a card of the day reveal. On Wednesdays, we have the virtual book club. We are currently reading the Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind. It has been so much fun following Richard and Kaylin on their adventures, so you are definitely going to want to join us for that. I also pop on from time to time and do free readings, so make sure you get my notifications by clicking that little bell. Alright, I feel that I have rambled on long enough. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Card number 1. What is the challenge for this month? And we have Spirit Dancer. The Spirit Dancer understands both sides of self-expression. In the first stage, we get our inner vision, feelings, and creative impulse out into the world through our art, whatever that is. Then our expressions are reflected back to us from the mirror of other people's perceptions, and we discover what our art awakens in them. First, and most important for many of us, we learn, grow, and lead more satisfying lives if we have ways of expressing our inner world. Such expressions can be a way of helping ourselves better understand our feelings and experiences. Or they can be a way of getting pain out where we can look at it and let it begin to heal. Creative expression is a method of exploring our own truth, bringing it into light so we can see it more clearly, and maintaining sanity. The key words here are explore, experiment, and express. Second, creative expression is a way of sharing and letting others see more of our true selves. It is a way that we can reach out from this illusion of separation and reaffirm our essential connections with one another. When we share a dance, a painting, or a poem with others, we do so with the hope that they will see something of what we have put into it, and that their experience will echo ours in some way. But if we have done well, we will be able to add something to their experience. At the same time, we understand that their slant on things is a bit different, and that what they reflect back to us by their response will perhaps contain something we haven't seen about our own experience, a new insight, a different view, an expansion of our picture of reality. So this side of creative expression, the sharing part, enriches us in a different way than the actual creation. I have never written a poem or sculpted something without the experience changing me, and then changing me again when I shared it with others. This is something I've heard many others say, including many who do not consider themselves real artists or real writers. Spirit Dancer encourages us to take creative action from our place of personal power, the inner core of true feelings and understanding within us. She wants us to clarify our vision, find the creative potential that lies hidden in paradox, confusion, and chaos, and turn these into a free-flowing, finely balanced, evolving order. She wants to aid us in making our best fantasies real. She also is very enthusiastic about helping us to learn to dance well with the fairies, if we don't already know how. And if we do know how, she would still be delighted to dance with us just for the fun of it. Step out boldly. Card number 2. What positive energies can I embrace this month? And we have the Journeyman. This is about adventure, independence, polishing of skills, travel. All of the great ones, the saints, the bodhisattvas, and all of those who are filled by the spiritual light, have been on this journey. They went into the wilderness, stepping, like fools, off of the safe paths into the waiting hands of their gods and goddesses. This is the journey of life, a pilgrimage that begins in ignorant trust, passes through all of the doubts, fears, ups and downs, probably all of the delusions, and certainly all of the confusions. Through it, we learn slowly, painfully, a new kind of trust, a trust in the process, detached from the goal. Our young Ongus journeyman, blessed him, is stepping out on the journey of life, positively glowing with enthusiasm. Even his toes sparkle. Bright, handsome, and educated, he has completed his apprenticeship in fairy crafts and magics, but he has not yet achieved true mastery of his trade. To accomplish this, he must leave the protection of his master and step out onto his path as an independent journeyman craftsman. He is testing himself and his knowledge in the world. He hopes to eventually achieve the status of master maker. Right now, he knows a lot of facts, has all the basic skills, but probably knows less than he thinks he does. He is about to learn about the skills of survival, bartering, persuading, selling, buying wisely, enjoying life, making friends. At least he doesn't need to learn how to iron his own shirts. Ongus still has lovely, playful, childlike qualities. Ongus is playing balance the ball on a stick with the moon. He seems to have no constraints, sets no boundaries on what he can do. And because he is magical and doesn't set such limitations on himself, he is able to walk on air or water, or through the hills, all with the moon nicely balanced both on his stick and in the sky. Our young Ongus must learn to care for himself. No one is looking over his shoulder to see that he does his work right and eats properly. Ongus may take chances and even make mistakes sometimes, as we all do, but this is how we learn. He is now confronting and being confronted by the real world. Here, he will discover that excuses don't buy bread and that the quality and integrity of one's work and actions are what counts, but he has been well taught and pretty well knows this already. Don't tell him I told you, but Ongus sometimes wears a false mustache, hoping that it makes him look more mature. He has romantic dreams of being a great hero, of becoming the supreme master of his craft, and of winning a fairy princess. Some of these dreams will come true, perhaps even all of them. Here we see an innocent being walking trustfully into a situation for which he is not fully prepared, and indeed cannot be fully prepared, or for which his preparation is as yet untested by reality. He is innocent of previous practical experience of the path he is now treading or the realm of life into which he is moving. This card could be called Innocence Encounters Reality, which is by no means a bad thing. His fairy godmother is lurking somewhere, just out of his sight, as fairy godmothers tend to do. Her expression is both gleeful and worried. Her hair is already whiter than it was before he began, and she is keeping her wand fully charged at all times. Although this is his journey and he must undertake it himself, almost everyone needs, and is given, a little fairy godmothering from time to time. Good-natured innocence attracts fairy guardians. It attracts helpful beings on all planes and in all worlds. It may also attract those who would abuse that innocence, but as long as our intentions are good, our guardians will offer good guidance. We are blessed and cared for if we allow ourselves to be. The world is before Ongus with smiles and teeth. Ongus has optimism, cheerfulness, magic skills, and a diligent fairy godmother. Ongus grows within us when we step bravely into the unknown, developing our potentials with hope and optimism and an open heart. Card number 3. What negative energies do I need to negotiate this month? And we have Iris of the Rainbows. This is about hope, promise for the future. Blue skies and rain are the realm of Iris, the rainbow fairy. She dwells at the meeting of air, the element of mind, and water, the element of emotion. She sits, rainbow-hued wings outspread, suspended in midair, partially wrapped in her deep sky draperies and crowned with iris blossoms. The fairy archers tipped their arrows in her potent handful of iridescent light. Firing their arrows, they sent polychromatic rays into the storm, bringing light to dismal skies and hope to darkened hearts. Beneath the rainbow fairy, the amphibious creatures of a wet earth crouch. The fairy frog maiden and the frog, anyone care to kiss him and see what happens? Peer out from their shelter at the storm-racked world, while the shadowed sun is dimly seen above Iris's head. Sturdy, pot-bellied gnomes, their toes rooted in the earth, sport sweeping whiskers to prove their entitlement to their single iris crowns, while the helpful fairy amphibians hold transparent, rainbow-filled globes for the rainbow fairy. Everyone, especially Iris herself, is fully absorbed in the task of reclaiming the bright sky from the dark of the storm. In her hand, the light of heaven's bow looks a fragile thing, yet it is the light of hope, the promise of healing and joy to come, and that is one of the most powerful things there is. Card number 4. What do I need to make time for this month? And we have the Oak Men. Brian had an interesting lesson from the Oak Men about how we humans use fairies to mirror our own projections. The eyes of the Oak Men are a warm light brown, but some people look at them and say, "Ooh, red eyes, scary." So he tried a little experiment. Using digital magic, he made a copy of the Oak Men and gave them blue eyes. He then asked some people for their impressions of the men, and words like innocent and sweet and melancholy came back. Then he changed them to an unreal-looking violet and got responses like, "Ooh, so spiritual, so wise." Had the Oak Men changed? Of course not, but what people had projected onto them had. When we look at a fairy, we can simply project all of our fears and insecurities and prejudices and delusions on them, or we can try to see them as they are. In a sense, all oracles are simply mirrors of the wisdom and confusion within the reader, but if we only look at them through our personal filters and projection, we learn very little. It is only when we actually try to see beyond ourselves that we begin to use the oracle as a mirror of the cosmos and all of its wisdom. When I see this card, I lose all track of time. I feel deep grounding and peace, contentment. Everything is there if you just take the time to be part of it. It is a deep homecoming for me. To me, the Oak Men showed the deep wisdom of age, the inner peace and strength of the elders. This is what the Oak Men are about. Can you look at them and see them as they are, or can you only see your own projections? The universe, like the Oak Men, is full of wisdom and compassion and strength, but it doesn't always come in pretty packages. Card number 5. What opportunity should I seize this month? And we have the Lady of the Harvest. After we have experienced the nurturing and fulfillment of the bright mother, the Lady of the Harvest, also called the Old Woman or Crone, helps us to let go of what is finished and liberate ourselves to move on to the next phase of our activities and relationships. As in the natural world, the old becomes compost for new growth in our lives. The Lady helps us to adapt to change and release. Often we associate the Lady of the Harvest with loss, regret, and grief, and often we are right to do so. The basic phases of grief are shock, denial, anger, guilt, emotional storm, acceptance, regaining of perspective, the beginning of healing, and the deepening of our capacity for love. The Lady of the Harvest understands grief and is patient and kind as we go through the sometimes painful process of letting go. We may well need to be patient and kind with ourselves. We should note here that the grieving process is the same for little losses and large ones. Only the time scale and the intensity of the emotions vary, but they vary enormously. We might go through all the grieving stages of a small loss in a few minutes, while it may take years for a greater loss. On the other side of this letting go business, there are many things that make us lighter and happier when we release them. Old traumas, tasks, or stages in our lives that we are glad to have finished, unhappy relationships, or feelings that cause us pain and inhibit our growth. Sometimes we simply comfortably finish with one aspect of our lives and move on to the next happy anticipated one. Such releases are cause for celebration, and the old woman joyfully celebrates with us. In this card, we see both the patient acceptance of loss and the joyful celebration of liberation. When we liberate something in ourselves or in the world, we grow to be more like the Lady of the Harvest, developing her capacities within us. All right, my lovelies. Let's take a look at the bigger picture here. Card number 1. What is the challenge for this month? And we have Spirit Dancer. Self-absorbed and obsessed, the reversed Spirit Dancer has become entangled in her own unexpressed and perhaps inexpressible fantasies. She feels angry and driven, and may be unable to express her feelings in any way except through destruction. Alternatively, this card may speak of the artist's block. The cure for that is to just create. Even if the creation falls far short of our goals, even if it is trite or trivial, just do it. It is a matter of priming the pump until the waters of creativity, emotion, and inspiration flow freely. Card number 2. What positive energies can I embrace this month? And we have the Journeyman. Adventure, independence, travel. A long path ahead, we hope. This card speaks to the need to perfect skills in working and living, but it acknowledges having a sound grounding in the basics. Optimistic, innocent, and willing to learn, Uncas also shows us that intuition serves us well, but only if we pay attention to it. Sometimes we're operating from theory alone, and our knowledge may or may not be well grounded in reality. This card does not necessarily refer exclusively to beginnings. It can also signify a progression along the path, moving into the unknown from the known, a new phase in an ongoing process. The card may also represent untested concepts or ideas, and suggest a need for balance between the intuitive and the rational as one approaches the unknown. Consider where you are going. What are your long-term goals? What are you doing that is helping you to move toward them? Card number 3. What negative energies do I need to negotiate this month? And we have Iris of the Rainbows. It is true that there is hope and there is promise for the future, but it is at present obscured or delayed. There may well be more trials to be met before we come to the end of this storm. Iris reminds us that hope, prayer, and faith may be needed, that help is there if we ask for it, though it may not come in the form we request. She reminds us, in these difficult times, to remember our aspirations, to consider who it is that we are trying to become, and to hold those images surrounded by her prismatic light in our minds as we pass through this time of darkness. All times of hardship offer us the same challenge, to grow or to diminish. The choice is ours, but she is ready to lighten our path if we will accept her offering into our hearts. No storm, no darkness, lasts forever. Card number 4. What do I need to make time for this month? And we have the Oak Men. This card depicts the strength and wisdom of age. It also reminds us that what we need to know, what is truly there to be seen, cannot be discovered by a superficial glance and hasty reaction. The Oak Men tell us to look slowly and deeply into the heart of the matter and to see past the superficialities of the surface. Consider the history of the situation in depth and learn from the past. Consult others with more experience than you have. Learn from the wisdom of the elders, both those available to you personally and those you encounter in books and elsewhere. In this matter, it would be wise to make your decisions after more pondering and study of the situation. Consider motivations in depth. Take action only after thorough deliberation. The Oak Men tell us that haste may be, at this moment, our worst enemy. They also suggest that we might learn a lot from trees. Consider the trees and their wisdom. Connect with a wise old one and ask for help. Card number 5. What opportunity should I seize this month? And we have the Lady of the Harvest. It is time to accept change, to move on to the next phase. Power and strength in the present and future come from releasing the past. This is a time of liberation, and we might as well cooperate with it. It will happen whether we want it to or not. Release and liberation may be painful or joyful, depending on the circumstances. Cry if you need to, be joyful if that is appropriate, but in either case, trust the process, acknowledge what you feel, and prepare to move on. This is going to be such an exciting month for you. A month of growth and adventure, amazement and wonder. Sure, we do have some work to do, but it is so worth it. I hope that this reading has helped you and will help lead you and guide you throughout the month of November. If you do feel that it has helped you and that it will help someone else, please feel free to share this video. Sharing is caring. And if you would like a more in-depth and personal reading, you can go to my website at www.conjureknits.com and click on the link at the top of the page that says, Book a Reading. Oh, and by the way, did you know that you could have gotten this TarotScope up to 2 weeks before the general public? Oh yes, check out my Patreon for details. I will drop a link in the description box below. I hope you all have a very beautiful and amazing month. Love you bunches. Shalom.